So yeah, I hit the wax, which is very high THC, and I broke out in bruises. I had bruises all over my face, like little tiny speckled bruises, like little spots. And then I was throwing up, threw up every 30 minutes for the entire day. So to me, that's a pretty strong indicator that my body's allergic, you know? So why is that important? So I turned 19, might have been 20, 19 or 20, 2011. So that was 10 years ago. So yeah, I'm 22. So I'm 22 years old and it's raining really hard outside. And I wake up the time I normally wake up. Didn't really plan ahead for, for these kind of things. So it was going to be, I was going to have to drive my normal speed to get to work on time. And I pushed it even farther that morning. I got Wendy's. There was a Wendy's right next to my house. So got a chicken sandwich. I put it in the passenger seat. I get in the car and I hop on the interstate, I-40 East, on my way to Whites Creek to go to work. Um, so it starts raining even harder, and I pick up speed. It's probably going about maybe 80, 75, 80 in the left lane. And something strange kind of happens. The middle lane and the right-hand lane both suddenly became uh, very high traffic, bumper to bumper. Scratch that, not bumper to bumper, but about 8 to 10 feet away from each other. So it wasn't, and they were all moving. So I'm in the left lane. Nobody's in the left lane. Middle and right lane are pretty crowded. So I kind of sense something. I kind of feel like something's up. So I think to myself, I should probably get back into the middle lane. So I look to the right. My mirrors, I didn't really understand driving that well. The rain was coming down really hard. I thought maybe I couldn't see cars properly because the rain. Uh, so there was a semi, right? There was a semi. No, this was 2010. Right, this took place. Hey Siri. Hmm. Hang on, let me look this up real quick. When was the historic Nashville flood? Okay, 2010. Yeah, I thought I seemed a little bit old for this timeline. So the flood happened in 2010. That's how I remember. So it's 2009. So that's minus 3 years, minus 2 years. So I was 19, maybe just turned 20. Okay, yeah, I just turned 20. Happened in May. Turned 20 less than a month ago. So I'm on the interstate in the left lane. there's a semi and there's a space in the road in front of the semi. So I figure the best thing to do to get out of this lane is to speed up to get in front of the semi. So I was going probably 75, 78 miles per hour before I sped up to get in front of the semi. So I was so focused on getting into the middle lane, I'm not even sure how fast I was going. If I had to guess, between 80 and 85 miles per hour, I know it was at least 80 because I was going 80 before I started speeding up, 78. Uh, so I speed up, and just as I speed up to get in front of the semi, I didn't really know what had happened at the time in the present, but everything disappeared. Everything disappeared, and I felt myself spinning. I felt like I was on a super fast Ferris wheel, a super fast merry-go-round. It's like on the Gravitron or something. And I kind of just had this thought in my head like, all right, I'm gone. I just accepted it. It wasn't really fear. It wasn't, it's just, well, that sucks. I guess I'm gone. And I kind of was going through a depression phase, I think. I didn't really value my own life uh, that highly. I valued other people's lives. Like, I didn't want to recklessly endanger people. I didn't want I didn't really plot out a suicide plan. I thought about it for a long time, but I never came up with a plan. Suicide was always just too scary. It's either gory or afraid of heights, and electricity is scary, and you know, never really got a hold of a firearm and didn't really want to. Um, so I didn't really, my depression, so people try to say, oh, well, we need to prevent suicide. And, oh, suicide is such a problem. Lock up your guns. And, if you're feeling suicidal, call this hotline. And I'm not going to say that suicide prevention is very important. I'm not. I disagree with anyone who says suicide prevention isn't important. But I don't believe suicide is where the buck stops. I really don't. I think depression, moderate to severe depression, I think it kills multiple ways. Number one, it's been shown that depression can lower your body's immune system and ability to fight diseases and cancer. Depression leads to increased stress. Depression leads to reckless behavior. Depression is a whole host of implications. So when people say, are you depressed? And they say yes. And they say, well, are you plotting to kill yourself? And they say no. And you say, all right, well, we're going to hide the weapons and we're going to take away the drugs you can OD on and we're going to keep an eye on you. But just because someone doesn't kill themselves who's depressed doesn't mean that depression is not a problem. Doesn't mean that depression's not going to kill that person just because they don't go through with suicide. And I kind of believe had something supernatural, something divine, had not reached out its hand and saved my life, then depression would have killed me. maybe it was suicide. I don't know. Maybe I wanted to die. Maybe I was so reckless that um, maybe I was so reckless that I kind of subconsciously tried to commit suicide. You know. So everything disappeared. I felt the spin, and then the spin kind of went away. The spin went away, and all of a sudden, brake lights appeared in front of me. It was like I got a second chance. You know, it's like I got a reset. You know, sometimes when I was getting stoned and my allergy to THC would start to set in, I'll get into that more. That was a heavy part of my life, was what that did to me. But I kind of got it in my head that like maybe maybe I spent eternity in heaven or hell or purgatory in that accident. And then at some point I broke out, you know? Maybe somebody let me out. And then I came out and I didn't remember eternity, you know? Stephen King wrote a book called The Jaunt, and it really got to me. It was a short story. It's about a machine that they invent that can take objects or anything and basically teleport it to any distance. And it's an astounding discovery, you know? All of a sudden, you don't really have a need for cars and all that stuff. So he takes a mouse and he puts it in the jaunt and it comes out the other side and it's dead. Has a heart attack as soon as it comes out. And he's tried this with a couple other poor animals and they just keep coming up dead. So one day he decides to give the animal an anesthetic. He puts the animal to sleep and it comes out the other side and it's fine. It wakes up. And so what they determined, they put a human through it. And they managed to not give the human an anesthetic. So the human comes out on the other side and he's alive for about 30 seconds. And when he's alive, the thing he says, his hair is gray, there's a crazy look in his eye, and he says, "It's forever in there." And then he has a heart attack and dies. So the story goes on. It's told from the perspective of a dad, and he takes his family into the jaunt. Long story, he fails to. His son is an adventurous kid, and he takes off the mask, and they all jump to the other side, and the son has gray hair, and the kid went crazy. He said, "It's longer than you think, Dad." And he rips his eyeball out of his socket and has a heart attack or something. And so, it makes you think about eternity, you know? Like maybe if you spend eternity in a jaunt, but it's not really eternity, it's 12 trillion, billion, trillion, who knows, 10 to the whatever digit. Hopefully not that long, but maybe it is that long. It's long enough to drive people insane and have them die instantly. So it makes you wonder, provokes the thought, is it really eternity if there's an end and you die? I would say the worst thing after eternity is staying alive and remembering it. The best thing that would happen when you come out of that eternity is that you die and forget it. For God's sake. Because, when things happen that we don't remember, I was talking to somebody and I said, what if they invented a pill that made it so you forgot the last 20 minutes? I said you could do any job, you could do any menial task, anything that you dislike, and then take the pill and it would erase it from your mind. And he kind of looked at me, he was like, I would rather the pill just make you not aware of what's happening. And it kind of got me to thinking, that really speaks to mortality and existence. And it's like, what is the difference between forgetting something and being oblivious to something? You know? What is the difference? Like when a person there's been cases where people experience severe trauma to their brain and their memory gets wiped and their brain resets basically, and they have a new life, completely different memories, completely new memories. All the old memories of their life just completely wiped out. They just start a new life. And people say that these people have entirely different personalities. They're different people. It's your memories and your experiences that make you who you are. So, what happened to that person when their memories were wiped out? What happened to them? Did they go to heaven? Did they go to hell? Did they go to purgatory? Are they just gone forever? It's like a death living inside of a person. Just the craziest thing. They had a woman. A while ago, they had a drug, a process they would give to pregnant women, and it helped wipe out the memory of the woman giving birth. So they would treat these women like shit. They would they'd put cages around their body and basically torture them. Probably did experiments on them, who knows. Uh, and then the women would forget. They'd have the baby, and then there was a movement that birth should be enjoyed and is a vital process, you know. So memory, huh? What is it with memory? So I submit that the best thing after you just experience eternity is to wipe it out. Forget it ever happened. So what if you could take people's trauma, rape victims and abuse victims, and what if you could take that trauma and erase it? What if you could erase the parts of your life that you didn't enjoy? What if you could just erase anything? What if you could make a pill that would make new memories? Like the show Watchmen. Memories. So maybe kind of a stoner thought, but maybe I existed for trillions of years in some kind of eternity, be it good or bad, you know? And then maybe something broke me out or broke myself out or who knows. So water went everywhere. Couldn't see out my windshield. There were brake lights in front of me. I slam on the brakes. The water helps push my car, helps slow it down, and I barely rear end this lady. Barely rear end her. And the weirdest, and this all took place in the left lane. She was in the left lane. I was in the left lane. I never left the left lane. Where she came from, I don't know. She wasn't in front of me. I could see pretty far in front of me. I knew there were no cars. She must have been behind me, right? So she gets out of the car. She walks up to my car. No, I walk up to her car. She rolls down the window. I ask her if she's okay. I tell her I'm dialing 911. And she looks at me. She says, there was a car going the opposite direction on the interstate. A red car. And I thought to myself, damn, my car's red. And I don't think she would have lied about that. Why else would she stop in the left lane? The middle of the left lane on the interstate. Just come to a complete halt. So my car was red. So I didn't see a car go in the opposite direction. I didn't see one. But she did. So if there was a car in the left lane going the opposite direction, I probably would have slammed into it, right? So I'm hydroplaning, going 80 whatever miles per hour in the water, and I run into, how could I not run into another car that was going the opposite direction? So that's kind of where the story starts. That's where the story begins. Got hit by the car. No, I barely rear end the car. And then it gets not quite over yet. I get back in the car. I'm dialing 911. I'm getting through. And as I'm on the phone, my rear seat left mirror and my front seat left mirror shatter. They shatter. And glass goes everywhere. I wasn't cut. You know, I got lucky. Uh, they cracked into very small pieces. I think modern ingenuity, they designed glass so that it shatters in a less harmful way nowadays. I think Saturn. I think Saturn did a good job in designing a car that didn't kill me. You know, I joke that I took that Saturn Ion to the other side and then drove back. I drove that car to the realm of the dead and drove it back. So my windows shatter and a car scraped off the whole left side of my car, and I was in the driver's seat on the phone, inches away from this accident. It peeled off the whole left side of my car. Had my head been a couple more inches to the left, I probably would have lost half my face or worse. So this car scrapes. He didn't really see my car. Maybe he had the same problem I did, and so instead of trying to screech to a halt, I guess he thought he could just get by me and and ensure that there would be no accident. I was a young kid. He was probably he was in his teens. It was his mom's insurance, and so it's probably a new driver. And so I appreciate that he didn't rear end the shit out of me. Uh, but on the other hand, when he peeled off the left side of my car, that could have been worse. Yeah, that could have been bad. And nobody was injured. The woman I rear-ended, no problems. The guy that peeled off my car, his car was fine. Go figure. It's always the moving car that's fine. Uh, and I remember after the accident happened, I was kind of in a state of disbelief, and maybe that's the feeling that warriors get. I kind of looked at my chicken sandwich in the passenger seat, and I was thinking, man, I can't eat that sandwich. It's got glass in it. And that was pretty much the main thing in my brain at that moment. So they shut down the interstate. My apologies. I'm one of those guys. They shut down the interstate for a little while. We get our cars off to the shoulder, and before we got to the shoulders, my dad appeared on the scene, and he saw the road, the space between the road and the median wall. Yeah, I don't think I even mentioned this left lane was about 4 or 5 feet away. 4 or 5 feet away from very thick, very heavy concrete wall. This wall is designed to stop cars. Because if it didn't stop a car, it would go through the wall and hit a car going the opposite direction on I-40 West. You really don't want I-40 East cars coming into I-40 West. So both interstates are better off if you just slam into the wall. You're better off slamming into a wall than slamming into a car going the opposite direction at 75 miles per hour. You're better off. So if you hydroplane going 85 miles an hour into a median concrete wall, your chances of survival are not too high, especially in a car that's not built to take that kind of impact. It's had good safety features, uh, but it just wasn't designed like, it's not designed like a Hummer or a truck, you know, designed to be fuel efficient, light and fuel efficient. So my dad gets out of the car, he sees the space between the left lane and the median, and he looks at the drain, and he sees that the drain is clogged. The drain is clogged, and there's about 2 feet of water collected on the ground. 2 feet of water. So you have a totally flat road, no water, building up speed, and all of a sudden you have 2 feet of water, just smack dab in the middle of the road. And that's when it gets dangerous. See, if you're just driving in 2 feet of water or 1 foot of water, whatever, you monitor your speed, try to maintain control, you try to feel the car, you're probably not going to hydroplane. But when you're going in 1 inch of water or half an inch of water, and then all of a sudden you hit 2 feet, all of a sudden you're going 80 something miles an hour over water. And not only that, the water topped off. So you hit the water, lose control, move out of the water into less water. Not a pretty situation. All right, so whatever. Got lucky, right? Got lucky. I got really lucky. If I got lucky, I got really lucky. One of the luckiest people in the world, probably. Anyway, 1 year goes by, and I'm living in Nashville, 2010, and in 2009, this accident happened on May 1st, on I-40 East, May 1st. I think around exit 198. No, probably exit 201, somewhere around exit 201. Uh, Close to Charlotte. Um, so 1 year later, 365 days later, a storm hits. Storm hits Nashville. And this storm cranks out not just feet of water, but like yards of water. Like Opry Mills Mall was half underwater. There was fish, according to folklore, there was fish from the aquarium swimming around the mall, according to eyewitness. I was on my way to work that day, and I didn't really know anything was up. The place I was living was on a hill and elevated. And I look to the right, off the interstate, I see water. Nothing but water. I see buildings underwater. The interstate was like the only thing that was above the water. But I didn't really understand the significance of the day, I just kept driving. And, I started smoking my THC that I was allergic to, my weed and my stoner thoughts. I kind of thought like maybe the flood was punishment, you know? Maybe it was punishment for Nashville not maintaining their gutters on the interstate, you know? But I didn't really notice the historical alignment until later. But I don't submit that as proof, you know? I don't, just because a storm happens on a certain day doesn't mean, doesn't guarantee, it's not proof, you know? It's just evidence. It's just supernatural evidence. All right. So it's 2010. Um, I get into some trouble with work, you know, substances were messing with my brain, and start smoking weed. And allergic to THC, like I said, and just starting to go crazy. Just going absolutely crazy. I started accusing my dad of stuff and was really mean to him. I was like just crazy behavior. Um, so I ended up going to a medical facility, right? A psychiatric. I had to get an assessment, right? My dad said, "Oh well, I think you're bipolar, Josh. You might want to get checked out." So we talked to a Vanderbilt psychology official professor guy, and he says, just go to the emergency room. So we went to the emergency room, and the two doctors, they talk to each other, they listen to my story, they hear my report, and they come back and they say, "Yeah, we think you're bipolar." So they put me on meds, and they said, "We'd like you," or I don't know if I said it or they just put it out there. They said, "How about you do a treatment? A How about we monitor your behavior for an amount of time?" And this place is meant for people to be basically detained. You can't leave, but they let me leave. So I mingled with these people. I started out as a total asshole. You know, didn't want to be there, but I gradually warmed up to the people, and I ended up regretting that I was an asshole. So I kind of looked forward to coming to these places. There was a girl there. She got her makeup, and she was pretty with her makeup, and we didn't kiss or mess around or anything, but we did we did enjoy each other's company. Um, so they tell me, "You've done well, and we've enjoyed having you here," and so that was that. So because I went to this facility, they kind of my job kind of wasn't too happy about it, you know, and so I moved back down to my roots, a small town, and I slowly try to pick up the pieces. Just living a very sad place. It wasn't really room for me. It was very cold, and I felt too worthless to charge somebody for a heater. You know, times were tough. Times were really tough. I was smoking like a chimney, and I ended up finding a job. It was a night shift and really shitty job. Probably it was plastics. Plastics probably cause cancer eventually. Um, wasn't that hard, but it was hard to do it right. You know, and I was kind of a doofus. I kind of had. I realized I discovered I had a tendency to gossip. You know, and it got me in trouble. Uh, it taught me a lesson. It taught me that don't say anything to anybody about anybody unless you are prepared to say that to that person's face, because it very well may happen. So I worked there about 2 months. I missed one day. Um, and I had quite a few write ups. They wanted to get rid of me. and one day it just ended. So um I started, I kind of put it in my head like, you know, hey, I need to find something. I need to find something and I need to find it fast. So I take out a loan and I enroll in the local community college. Like I said, my grades weren't that good. I didn't do that well in testing, you know, so I didn't really get into any colleges. So I, so I'm going to I'm going to this place and doing all right. I'm not doing as well as I aspired to do. I wanted to make straight A's, all 100s, impress everybody, maybe meet a girl, and after having a really strong academic performance, maybe bumping myself up to, the local 4-year university, maybe attending a real college. And I'd have some cheap ass credits under my belt. And I would learn. Worst case scenario, I'd be a little smarter, right? And it was cheap. It was relatively cheap. And it gave me a purpose. My late grandfather, he said, he said, uh, he said, you need something to tell people when they ask you what you're up to, when they ask you what you're doing. So I'm going to college. I'm doing okay, doing a little better than scraping by. I felt better about it than I did in high school. I thought maybe I'm starting to change. Maybe my experiences have developed me as a person a little bit. Maybe I've learned a little bit of discipline over the years. And then I made a big mistake. I made a big mistake. I started smoking weed. And my behavior just went off the deep end. Like, all my negative tendencies just got turned up to the 10,000th degree. I just didn't give a shit anymore. I had a group project that I was supposed to do, and I met up with them like one time. Still feel bad about that. What an asshole I was. It was 3 people, and I made them do all the work. And there were some other things. I missed an exam. The teacher let me retake it. And she was really nice, and I was there every day. Um, Biology, I started off gangbusters, and I gradually just started fucking up more and more till I got to the point where I couldn't do it. And I put so much faith, I put so much hope into this attempt. I thought this is the time before it started. I thought I'm gonna prove everybody wrong. I'm gonna put my nose to the grind. I'm gonna make a change. I'm going to have a good work ethic. I'm gonna live a better life. You know, thought to myself, I've seen life, what it can be like to live in a shitty situation or be homeless, and I've seen life, and I need to fight it. So I attend college, and I just I stopped giving a shit. I just you know I was diagnosed bipolar, maybe some other stuff too, while I was at my job, right? So, maybe it was an onset. Maybe it started there. That's where my problems started. Maybe it was my accident. Maybe it exacerbated everything. I don't know. So, I can't do college anymore. And little do I know I'm going crazy. I going nuts. I I get the urge. It's my brain just develops an urge to just go outside and assume somebody's listening to me and just talk. Not that far off from what I'm doing right now, but this time I've got a recorder and I've got the magic of the internet to share it with. And we'll get to that later. It's different now. But back then, so I'm devolving into this state of constant mania. I can't sleep, but I'm not tired. I thought I just don't need sleep anymore. That probably didn't help things that I wasn't sleeping. So I'm devolving into mania. I I can't eat, can't think, but I can't stop smoking the weed either. And I thought to myself, everybody else smokes weed and they're fine. I thought to myself, what? How could it be affecting me this strongly? And I would have the urge to just go out and do something. I had a lot of confidence. I was less shy. I was filled with a sense of purpose. I always felt happy. I felt like the world was my oyster, you know? And I thought a lot about that car accident, the one where I hydroplaned. And the more I thought of it, the more it fed into this fantasy I created. So I come out to the property, doing my spiel, you know, and one of these, I'd done this several days, get in the habit of doing it every day, was doing it every day, all day. I'd come out there for 7, 8, 9, 10 hours. I'd get sunburns. I'd get a tan. Just, just. So one day I come out here and I look up at the sky, just, just for the hell of it. You know, I scream. And when I say this, I'm not turning this into a Bible study. I'm not turning this into a religious motivational work, right? I'm not even sure what I believe, you know? But I do know, I looked up at the sky and I shouted. I said, Jesus Christ, I accept your sacrifice. And within half a second, as soon as I uttered those words, I saw the biggest shooting star I'd ever seen. It's off to the it's off to the southeast, southwest. It's off to the southwest and just skirted across the sky. And I thought to myself, holy shit. Holy shit. Maybe I'm not just plagued with delusions. You know, maybe it's not all just a giant fantasy. Maybe I need to adopt a mission. So I came out to the lake one day and I kind of was talking to God in my deranged mania. And I looked at the lake, took a stick, and I just thought, God is telling me to be the Antichrist. Okay? And I'm not saying that's who I am right now or anymore or ever. I'm not making that claim. But I felt like nobody has ever approached the world making that claim, you know? And I had my car accident, I had the star, I had the storm, the anniversary storm. I had all these supernatural, I had the desk, I had the earthquake, I had all these supernatural occurrences. And to this day, I still believe they happened. Uh, I had all these supernatural occurrences, and I thought, I'm just going to take on the world. I'm going to take them on. So I go on the internet, the magic of the presence, the magic of the present, the past's future. Log on to this magical internet and I just troll. I just troll the shit out of the internet. You know, I was getting into numerology. I found some kind of numerological pattern where my first, middle, and last name had my birth date and the day I turned 18 written in one of the coding of the English language or the English text. I had all these, you know, I found a website that had my birthday and the way it lined up with astronomy and pointing to the Antichrist. And I found a website that said the rehabilitation of the Antichrist. The same website that told me my birthday and my 18th, my first birthday and my 18th birthday. The same website said the rehabilitation of the Antichrist. So I accepted this mentality that, wait, maybe I am the Antichrist, but I've undergone rehabilitation. I was the Grinch. I was meant to be bitter and insane and take out the entire world. You know, I was meant to pave the way for the arrival of Jesus Christ. But I had the star, you know, and so I had this rationality that I could be the Antichrist, but not be a bad Antichrist. I could be rehabilitated. So that was my approach. I attempted to take on the entire world, mainly the country. So I start trolling. I start spamming conspiracy websites and, you know, social media websites and special interest group pages, and I just try to make my presence known. Some of the stuff may have been illegal, you know. Some of the stuff I probably shouldn't admit to. Uh, Never caused bodily harm to anybody, but I trolled. I trolled really hard. Just wanted so bad to be heard. Wanted so bad for something to happen. You know, I felt like too much weird, too many miracle type things, too many supernatural things have happened for me to just go about living a normal life. Need to make a noise. I need to be brave. So, so one day I'm at the gas station and I throw something away. I threw something away, threw it in the garbage, and some guy that I knew I'd seen before recognized his car. He goes into the garbage and he starts looking through it. And thought to myself, like, holy shit, somebody noticed me. And in hindsight, yes, some intelligence agency, some kind of data collection agency decided I could be a potential threat. So they assigned a private investigator. Like, that's all it was. So they got a private investigator because